right, welcome to We Talk. This is.
I don't know. What's funny
I
is
heard about the name. I listened to it this morning.
I like it until you say it.
No, I think it's great.
What do you think we should call
We
it?
Talk. Well, it doesn't matter. We Talk won.
I mean, everyone, yeah.
No.
Unless we decide to just go completely against our word right now and just screw all the submissions and make our own name.
See, that is the thing we can
which
do.
we could do.
Yeah, we can.
What about We Pod?
Ooh, We Pod Talk.
And the
We
people who
Talk
listen
Pod.
can be potties.
We
Like a potty.
Potties.
Like
No,
a
my
toilet.
I didn't realize it.
Like a toilet.
But
I'm a
if we
potty.
did that, we should
I'm a
get
potty.
like toilet seat
Toilet
seats.
seat. That would be so good.
So then
Love
we're
it.
like, we're sitting on the pot while
We're
we're
sitting
doing
on the
a
pot.
podcast.
Be a potty. And then like when people subscribe, we can send them like toilet paper or like whatever our little token could be. We can send them a toilet seat.
Every time that we get a new subscriber, there's like a flush sound.
Flush sound. Welcome to the toilet.
Oh, that's amazing.
Flushed.
I mean, it's not a bad idea because some of the best thinking happens on the toilet, on the potty,
Or just in the bathroom in
This is
general.
a
Well, that
deep.
is true.
This is a deep thinking podcast.
Yeah.
For the potties.
For the
For the
potties.
potties. For the
I will
potties.
say probably the greatest time of revelation, I feel like, is usually in the shower. Like,
I was going to say shower.
like when
Not
I'm in
so
the
much the
shower,
toilet.
I feel like that's where I get like my sermons and like I get at least like illustration ideas. It's like I'll just be sitting under the water and be like, oh, I need to fill a bag full of this and put $1 bill in there. You know, I don't know. It's just like random stuff. That's how it happens for me, at least.
I am really focused in the shower about not falling down.
I do scare you a lot in the shower.
Yes, and oh, by the way,
really
Rachel,
funny.
my wonderful wife, will be joining us for the potty cast today.
Pottycast.
The potties. We have a new potty. She.
This is so wonderful.
You guys did get a new potty, though.
We
didn't
did.
you?
We did get a new
We did
potty.
get a
The
new
old
potty.
potty was in the
Yep.
was in the bathtub.
The old potty was in the toilet. Yeah, we put our potty in the bathtub. It was awesome.
Classic us.
I wonder how that worked.
Not great. Not great.
kinda gross.
It was a moment of panic. I lifted it up off of the potty hole where the poo-poo and the pee-pee goes. And when I was holding it, I was like, I don't know where to go. So I just ran to the bathtub and dropped it
Oh
in the
my gosh.
bathtub. Yeah, it was gross for a couple days, but it was great. So welcome to the potty cast.
The pottycast
Pottycast.
today.
All you
Yes.
potty heads.
Oh my gosh, this is getting weird.
We want to introduce
So good.
Rachel
Hello.
Lynette Conover. She will be
Rachel.
joining us today. Rachel.
Rachel Lynn?
Yeah, Lynette.
Rachel Lynette
Linnea.
Conover.
Linnea.
Lynette.
I was trying to remember your maiden
Ohio.
name. Is it Johnson?
It's Johnson.
Okay, I was like second guessing it. I was gonna be like, and Lynette Johnson. I was like, that's not it. But it is. It's right.
It is,
Okay, I felt
Johnson.
good. Okay.
For those of you that don't know, she has been my wife. We celebrated 15 years in May 19th.
Yeah.
And she's been doing youth ministry for 19 years with me here in Alabama.
True story.
So, what are we talking about today on the podcast with
The
the potty
potties.
heads?
The potty head.
The
Well,
potties.
I mean, I think it's kind of fitting since you guys did just celebrate at the time of recording this podcast. You just celebrated your 15-year anniversary yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you guys are hearing this, it'll probably be not yesterday. But that's fine.
It'll be yesterday 5 weeks ago.
But yesterday, about 5 weeks ago, for you that are listening now. But I guess maybe as people that, those that are like, thinking about like trying to find my spouse, trying to find my one person. I guess like what was your thoughts going into finding your helpmate, if you will? Did you guys have any intention, like when you guys met eyes with one another? Was there this immediate like, that's my one?
Nope.
I don't know.
No. No.
I will tell you, and I always make fun of Robert. The first time I met him, he was kind of rude.
Oh,
Whoa. This is not true. I don't
And it-
know.
see, he doesn't remember it.
But this
It
is
was at
amazing.
the
This
A-frame.
is how people can go into one experience and both come with a different perspective.
Yes, I guess
So
so.
go ahead.
Let's talk
about
okay.
your rude husband.
So I had Destiny. Destiny was like little. She was like 2 or 3. And
Little Destiny.
Little Des.
Desi Lou.
And we were walking out, and I saw him, and we introduced ourselves. And I went to shake his hand. And when I went to shake his hand, he like adjusted. He had this high school class ring on.
Oh my god.
And he like went to adjust it, and
Oh
then
my
he
gosh.
shook my hand.
Oh my god.
And I was like, okay, whatever.
do you think it was more of like an
Unsubscribe.
adjustment of like, I don't want to hurt her with this giant ring, or was it like, I want you to see this ring as
No,
I shake it?
I felt it was like I don't know, like
what is it?
I don't want her to get her gross hands on my
yes,
ring.
like I'm the youth pastor.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
I'm like, okay, whatever, bye.
Well, I mean, we just talked about this yesterday, Cody and I, because we were fixing the stage in Big Church, and I'm very OCD when it comes to stuff being straight, and it was crooked. It was crooked on my finger. I'm sure that's what was going on, so I had to straighten it. It was probably like a knee-jerk reaction, like I have to do this before I can do anything else. Hence the correction before I shook her hand. But that's not the first time I remember meeting her. I remember meeting her in the sanctuary, and she was by herself. She was wearing a blue skirt and a white top. I remember what she was wearing.
Oh.
And
made an impression.
Yeah. That was the first time I remember meeting her. I don't remember the first time meeting her when Destiny was there. Sorry, Destiny, it's not that you're not memorable. I just don't remember Destiny being with her the first time I met her.
Okay.
So, but going back to your previous question, no, I did not know. I wanted to be married from a very young age because I wanted a spouse. I wanted someone to share my life with. But when I met Rachel, I did not know she was the one.
So how did it happen? Like what was there? What kind of journey was there? Was there like did it turn into a blossoming, amazing friendship first? Or was it just like, don't want anything to do with each other, and then all of a sudden like, here we are?
Cody knew that this was going to be scratching something, because he said the other day, he's like,
What?
maybe you guys can fight about it on the podcast.
No, I didn't. I mean, I'm genuinely
No.
curious.
So this is going right down the pooper.
Guys, we've turned into a toilet humor. Oh gosh!
I don't know how to stop it.
Don't press it. Press me.
Oh my goodness.
Stop! Don't touch it.
Okay, it's just got to run.
And welcome to the podcast. Just kidding. Oh,
I wanted to do the cheering one. I got to remember which one's the cheer.
Don't worry about it. Don't
Okay.
press the buttons.
All right,
we can
sorry.
add it in post.
My fault, guys. All right.
Okay, so
I don't
Awkward.
remember the
I'm uncomfortable.
question.
Push buttons.
at the last podcast that we did, we kind of talked about our stories of coming to Christ and really like how we found God. So when I came to Ablaze at 14, that was 2004. So I
Wow.
believe in my mind you guys were already dating at that point, and if you weren't already dating, I at least thought you were dating. So you guys were either
Yes.
good enough friends
Yes,
to where
2004 we were.
Okay, so I was like, I'm pretty sure you guys already were dating.
Yeah.
So at that point, when did that happen, and how did that happen? Was there a story? Was there a moment that you guys were like, this is it, this is what we're doing, or what?
Well, I mean, we, again, two extremely different perspectives. So I'll let Boo share hers, and then I'll share mine. But in 2004, I think we were a couple.
Yeah, we were.
And I had to introduce her. Whenever I would introduce her to parents of teenagers, I'd be like, this is my girlfriend. She's not a teenager. Because
true.
She's so little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for those that are listening, Rachel is 5'2".
Something like that.
Yeah, she's teeny tiny, and she obviously looks young.
She just got
And
a little baby face.
Well, I introduced
true.
her. What the story goes is I introduced her to one family, and they thought I was dating a teenager, and they were like, "Is this what this church does? Is this what the youth pastor does? He's in
weird
ministry,
church.
and he works himself through the ministry, through the
Find
teenage
right one,
girls."
someone-
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
we don't do that here.
no,
at
we
all.
don't. And
Gross.
so
Right.
from that point of misconception, I
Sure.
always started telling people she's not a teenager.
Even
She
to this day.
Yeah, right? I still can't. Yeah, even to this day.
I mean, you just
so.
had a thing at Walmart or whatever the other day, right?
Oh
Where
my
you were
God.
like,
Oh my goodness,
some old
that
man
was
was
so
like,
good.
you got two very handsome boys and a beautiful daughter. And you're like,
Yes.
thanks.
Thanks, Dad.
Rachel cracked up.
Oh my goodness, I laughed the whole day.
Yeah, she just
so
kept
good.
going. And I honestly didn't know what to do. I was like, this is awkward. Just run away. And so I just kept walking.
Yeah.
'Cause I was like, well,
So
she's
good.
not my daughter. She's my wife.
So
Anyway, so how did the relationship begin?
Well, I mean, I think we both moved down here at the same time, Colorado and Indiana. We both moved down here. When we first came here, there were like, I don't know, 4 or 5 young adults. So the pool
You
was,
were the young adult
so
ministry.
the pool was very small.
Slim pickings. The
pond
it
was baby.
It was very slim pickings.
So you dealt with what you had and said, you guys are the best for each other. Just kidding.
That doesn't sound great,
doesn't
right?
sound good.
Right.
Robert was the best option out of the
I
3
guess.
guys there.
It was
It's
either
like,
him or
wow.
Oh my gosh.
She flipped a coin.
Robert won.
Oh man.
No, I don't know. We started out as friends because again, there was no one else at the church that was our
Right.
age.
Really
so
wasn't.
so we just started hanging out and just became good friends.
Yeah, and we hung out a
A lot.
Yeah.
We did.
Well, because you guys actually lived above and below each other, right? In
Not at
apartments?
Not at
first.
first.
Oh, okay.
Not at first. She actually lived with Pastor Mark and Pastor Rhonda. and Pav and I lived together.
Okay, yeah.
But it kind of segues to what we talked about in the previous podcast. You know, your relationship being built on more than sexual intimacy.
Right.
We had a really good friendship,
Right.
a really good foundation. She was at Pav and I's apartment all the time.
I was.
One time we got in trouble from Pastor Mark and Pastor Ronna because she stayed a little too late. But it wasn't. Pav and I were just playing video games, and she fell asleep on the couch, and so we
did
low key
that a
forgot
lot.
she was back
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
She was just back there chilling, and we had our
back there
big
sleeping.
gulps
4
in our back.
It was 4
4 a.m.
a.m.
It's like, oh my gosh, we've been over here playing
Yeah.
Battletoads, and here she goes.
Yeah. So that was great. But we had a really good friendship.
Yeah.
And well, I'll just tell my version. I went on a mission trip. I went to the Philippines, and I was in the Philippines for a week. And then after the Philippines, I went to Taiwan, and I was in Taiwan for a week. And whilst I was in the Philippines, there was a rooster that was across from my room.
They're always there.
And this stupid rooster, I never wanted like chicken wings so bad. Like I was like, I'm gonna kill it and I'm gonna barbecue this stupid thing. I'm gonna have some hot wings. And so every morning, like at 4:35 in the morning, this thing was just, I mean, just, and I couldn't sleep because it was literally right outside my window. So I got up and I prayed, read my Bible, just spent some time with the Lord. And it was on that trip that he told me that Rachel was supposed to be my wife. And
Dang.
so when I flew home from that trip, she was there at the airport. This is why I was giving someone a hard time the other day, because their significant other is taking them to the airport, and I was like,
yeah.
y'all are getting married now.
You're locked in, buddy.
That's the sign. If they're willing to take you to the airport, especially early in the morning,
Are you listening, kids? I'm just kidding.
yeah, so
That's
that
not
is
ironclad.
right. It's just a joke. But so when I got back from the airport, and she can confirm this, I think I was pretty straightforward. I was like,
Oh, as soon as you got, I
You're the
remember.
right one, baby.
Yeah. He was like, we need to talk. And I was like, okay.
yeah.
And then he was like,
I was like-
he just laid it all out on the table. Like, if we're going to date,
Yeah.
we're going to date till marriage.
So you more or
This
less
is-
proposed that day, essentially, without
Essentially.
Basically, without
Yeah.
saying I do. He was like, these are my terms and conditions. Like,
Yeah.
we're not, this is it.
Which we tell the teenagers lots of times, like, we don't date for experience.
Yeah.
We don't date for
Right.
social interact. Like, you date to get married.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so, like, even before Rachel and I started dating, I knew that this was obviously stuff could have happened and we could have been together for 6, 12 months and be like, all right, we're just not compatible.
Mm-hmm.
But we weren't dating because we wanted something to do.
Sure.
We were
Right.
dating because we both had a sense that we were supposed to be
Right.
together.
There was an intent and a
Yes.
purpose
Yes,
behind the
yes.
relationship.
That's exactly right. That's a very good way of saying it. So we weren't dating for sex. Obviously, we didn't do that until we got married. We weren't dating because of social norms and having a boyfriend and having a girlfriend. We were dating because we felt like we were supposed to be
Right.
together, and we felt like we were going to get married. And so we dated for marriage. You know what I mean? And Boo might be a little bit bitter, but we dated for a long time before I did actually propose.
We dated for 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not too bad.
I mean, it's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but at the same time, you
But-
kind of put it out there like we're going to get married, and then you wait 2 years. That is a little bit long.
I was scared.
He was very scared.
Yeah.
So what was your? So I feel like, I guess because I've kind of already heard the story a little bit. Because I feel like from what I've heard is that you were like, finally, been waiting for you, buddy. Like I knew this the whole time. So
Yes.
like, when did?
This doesn't make me look great.
Well, I mean, I think it's fine. It's whatever, you know. But like, so when was your moment of like, I know I'm supposed to be dating this
Yeah,
guy?
when was your
What
moment?
was the? Or do you recall a moment?
I know exactly when it
Okay.
was.
Oh, all right.
Okay,
Let's hear
so
this.
I moved here in 2002,
Mm-hmm.
and Robert and Pastor talks about this story sometimes, went on a mission trip to South America. I think it was Brazil, right?
Yeah.
And they had all of these like plane issues.
Yeah, we did.
And I
Scary.
was living with Pastor Mark and Pastor Ronna. And so Pastor Ronna got off the phone with Pastor Mark and was like, hey, we need to pray. And so when she got off the phone, I was like, okay. So we prayed, and I went into the room I was staying at, and I started praying for Robert a little differently than I had ever prayed before. And I was like, wait a minute.
Protect his pretty little face.
Basically.
please.
And it was super annoying.
The moneymaker.
And the reason it was super annoying is because I moved to Alabama with this mission of I am never getting married.
Ooh,
I am.
interesting,
I will become a nun.
Oh,
like,
my gosh.
literally, like I didn't.
That's
want-
escalated.
charismatic nun.
That escalated quickly.
I was like, I don't want anything to do with any guy. I don't want to get married.
Screw men. They're the
Exactly.
worst.
Basically, I was at that level.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. And so I started praying for Robert differently, and I was like,
Oh man.
no.
Here it goes.
I literally had this conversation with God. I was like, I don't want to like him. I don't want to. And I tried to push it down as much as I could.
I'm really not trying to refer to you this, but why do I picture like the Grinch when his heart just gets bigger and he's like, oh,
I can't.
Basically, that's what it was. I was like, no, please. Why, God, why?
But there's a good story in that,
Yeah.
a good example. Like lots of times when God tells us to do something, we're at first,
Yeah.
we're like, oh, why do I have to do this? It's not something I really want to do. It's not something that I think I should be doing, but God ministers to us. And then you end up doing it, and not to put words in Rachel's mouth, but then it's heaven on earth.
Right.
It's the best
It's
possible
literally
thing for your life.
right.
And so I think sometimes we make the mistake of like, we need all the answers. We need to be able to see everything. We need to be able to know everything. And sometimes that's not how God's work. He's just like, he gives us this one detail.
Yeah.
And then he adds the rest after we obey.
Right.
Because we have a very wonderful life. We have a very good marriage. I can say, with complete honesty and transparency, we do have our fights, but they are far and few between.
Right.
We have
Very
a
true.
fantastic marriage, and usually it's over like
Stupid stuff.
Stupid
Yeah,
stuff.
really dumb
like,
stuff.
Yeah,
Like Robert leaves his clothes all over the floor.
I've gotten better at that though. But
It's true. It's true. You really have.
See, there it is. And so, but that's marriage, right? You work on the things
Yeah.
that you do wrong so you can enhance your marriage. But we have a fantastic, God has blessed us with a wonderful, wonderful marriage. And that's because we got the right one.
Right.
We sought the Lord. He did it. We followed his steps. We followed his instructions. Even if it was reluctantly, I forgive you for that.
It wasn't you, though. It was everyone.
The idea of it in general.
The idea
yeah.
of marriage and the idea of
Yeah.
boys, ooh, gross.
I don't buy
So
it.
did that come from a place of like hurt from a different boy before you came?
Cody's
is-
going in
I'm
with the
just curious.
question.
Okay.
I feel like there might be a listener that is curious as well. So I'm not to. If you don't want to talk about it, it's
No,
fine.
no,
This is the
it's-
potty. We put it all out there.
We
We're on
do,
the
we do.
toilet.
We're on the toilet right
Everything's
now.
out there.
Everything's
Are we
out there.
literally
That's
about to call
right.
this the potty? Like this is
This is for all of our potty heads. This is for.
Oh, gosh.
So good.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I guess did that come from a place of hurt or something like that?
Yeah, I think it definitely did. I never dated, ever. But growing up, I saw a lot of bad relationships from parents and whatnot. And there was such a deep hurt there
Yeah.
that I decided that if that hurts that bad, then why am I going to do it?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess that's just where the hurt
Sure.
came from, is growing up and you
Seeing people that you love go
seeing
through
people
it.
that I love go through it, but not only, I mean, people hurting me. I had a stepdad who he literally, like, one day called me on the phone and was like, sorry, I can't have anything to do with you anymore. I don't love you. And hung up the phone. And I was like 9 or 10. And like, what is a 9 or 10-year-old going to do with their dad saying, sorry?
So this is a stepdad, but you basically viewed as like a father to
Yes,
Yeah, because
because
Rachel's never met her biological
Right.
I've never met my biological dad. But this guy, he was like, I don't know, like a year or two before this, was like, let me adopt you, let me adopt you, let
Wow.
me become your dad. I mean, he was my dad.
Dang.
And then one day he was like, hey, I met this girl. She doesn't want kids. I can't love you. I can't see you anymore. Click.
Dang.
So I was like 9 or 10, when that happened as a kid. And that like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
And so after that, it was,
Yeah.
the heart was off. And I learned how to
Grinch.
Yes,
Yeah.
I learned how to become the yes. I
We got
learned how to
hurt one
become,
time
Yes, I
for
learned how to
Christmas.
become
Wow.
the Grinch. No one was ever allowed into my heart ever
Wow.
again.
So I guess in that moment of when you were praying for Robert, I mean, I'm sure before that there might have been something that God was helping you get through that. But do you feel like in that moment of prayer, that's when God's like, all right, we're going to start working on you with this. Like, get ready. Like,
Yes. Even before that, though, like when I got born again, I think I was 19 when I got born again, the Lord started working on me so much so that I even have trouble today crying. But it's because I turned it off.
Yeah.
And God had to help me learn to cry, like
Yeah.
to have emotions.
It's okay to feel.
Yes, it's so dumb. But growing up, I had to learn how to not have emotions, how to have a straight face. I would get in trouble for crying. So it was just like I had to have this poker face at all times, and I had to basically sear emotions. And so when I got born again, God was like, emotions aren't that bad. You can do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I can't. I don't like emotions. So yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, that's a testimony in itself right there. The fact that you had been burned on the concept of a relationship for almost your whole life.
Right.
Look at Robert. He's this is it's a miracle that you guys, are together. Like, that's amazing. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
It really is a miracle. God is just, it's amazing. It's amazing what happens when you actually get born again and give yourself to God and like, all right, you fix this.
Yeah. And that's interesting that you say that too, because I think that that's something that I think people don't take seriously, is that in a way, well, actually, not in the way, you were pursuing God first. You weren't pursuing Robert.
Right,
you weren't
right.
pursuing, even though you'd sworn off from relationships. Most people pursue the relationship. They pursue the idea of having a boyfriend, or the idea of having a girlfriend. And I've even fallen to that, in my past, of course, is like, I wanted a girlfriend. So that I just was looking for someone that would take me, it's like, who's the next pretty girl that I want to,
Right.
It's just, that's just who I was at one point in my life. But like, and I know for me and my wife, we came from a place of, we had both just gotten out of like a pretty bad relationship, but we had both were like, we hate it, we're done, whatever. And so it's that when we were like, we really submitted ourselves to God, and it wasn't very long, but it was like we immediately found each other again, like right after that moment. It was like when we were like, we're done.
Right.
Then God was like, no, you're not.
Right.
It's just- but we had made the choice of like, we're going to pursue God first. And then it was like, now's the right relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's just really cool that clearly was birthed. Your relationship came forth of a place of submission to God first.
Right.
Yeah. And it highlights an interesting point that I think sometimes doesn't get talked about enough. I think we all have done this, and I think people do it a lot. We let life's experiences keep us from receiving what God has for us, because we judge God's gift based off of our life's experiences, and those are two separate things. And I feel like we can never judge God and what he has for our lives by what we've experienced. And praise God that Rachel was able to push through that, and she didn't, from her life's experience, she was able to heal and open up to be like, okay, even though I've had bad experiences with this, I feel like God has told me to pursue this relationship.
Right.
And she could have very much let her life's experiences stop her from pursuing God's plan and call and objective. And so she had to push through that. And I think sometimes we have to do that, even when it comes to God himself, because lots of people, they get hurt by this, they get hurt by maybe church or a pastor or people in the church or whatever it might be. And they let those natural experiences affect their perception of God and his plan for their life.
Right.
And I think it's important that we just take into consideration that everything that happens in life is not from God.
Right.
And we can't let our negative experiences create a negative outlook of God and his plan for our life. Even what you just said with you and Kai, you guys had just came out of relationships. You could have very easily been like, all right, I'm shutting this down. You know what I mean? I had a negative experience. Relationships aren't me. And it would have withheld you from, each other and God's ultimate plan for your life. And so I think we all have to dig deep at times, and we have to push through the negativity and be like, all right, you know what? God has a plan. One of our favorite scriptures that we quote all the time, Jeremiah 29:11, he has a plan, and it's a good plan to give us a hope and to give us an end. And we can't let anything that we experience, positive or negative, keep us from pursuing that plan. And the way we pursue that plan is by pursuing him.
Yeah.
Rachel had moved from Indiana to Alabama in pursuit of God.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was her pursuit of God, like we talked about in the podcast a couple weeks ago. Matthew 6:33, you seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then he adds all these things to you.
Right.
You never know how he's going to do it. In this particular example, he added our desire to be with each other. He added that to her through tragedy in my own life, on an airplane thinking I'm going to die. And God is like,
wait, I promise this is going to turn out good.
Right, exactly. And so, which is amazing. And I'm not saying God caused that tragedy.
No, of course
not.
We're not saying that. We're just saying, through that, he was able to reveal to Rachel, you actually care about this dude.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just really cool. Don't ever give up on God's plan, and
Amen.
and do what you have to do to keep your heart tender and keep your heart open, And the truth of the matter is there's a lot of things in this world that callous us,
Yeah.
Right.
that make us, and even like going to my own life, my perspective on ministry growing up as a pastor's kid, lots of things that happened that could have calloused me towards ministry to where I wanted nothing to do with ministry. We have to push through those experiences that are not positive, that are not the exact reflection of who God is and what he wants for our lives, so that we can have what he wants for our lives and so we can experience him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there any like kind of advice that maybe you guys would give listeners when it comes to picking the right person for your, or maybe even just like people that you let in your life in general? Because I think, like you said, your relationship started as friends first, and then the boyfriend and girlfriend thing happened.
Right.
So I mean, what kind of advice do you think you'd give a listener when it comes to even picking friends of the opposite gender, or maybe even just potential spouse? I don't know. I guess like what would you say to those people? You just like letting people into their life. Because I feel like that's kind of even when we were talking earlier, it seems like there was purpose in your relationship to be boyfriend and girlfriend, or even just pursuit of marriage eventually. But it's almost like there should even be purpose in your friendships too.
Oh, for sure.
Well, we, as silly as it sounds, we watched the show This Is Us. I don't know if any potty heads out there watch This Is
I can't
Us.
believe
Stop.
this is
We
a
gotta
thing.
stop.
Oh, I think it's a thing now.
Oh man.
But even on last night's episode, because he's about to get married, spoilers,
Oh my gosh.
Kevin's about to marry. It's not his high school sweetheart. It's just
Whoa. God, I'm just kidding.
it's just some girl that he met haphazardly, or however you say that, haphazardly, whatever. So
sounds
it was purely coincidental.
Okay.
And so he asked his brother last night. He was like, "How does anyone ever really know who they're supposed to marry?" And I think in that situation, watching that TV show, in my mind, I was thinking, if he doesn't know, then he knows.
Then you know.
Exactly. Right. If you don't know, if you're having that big of a question, then right?
Exactly.
And so, because he clearly didn't have peace in that situation, and he was clearly conflicted.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's not any conflict in our decisions and
And it
stuff
can
like
still
that.
be scary, even if you're confident.
Right.
Absolutely. And but I think if you don't have peace, and it's just not settled in your heart, then I don't know. I feel like it's that simple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know that there's gray areas on certain things, but to me, marriage and relationships is pretty black and white.
Yeah.
It's, do I have a good feeling? Do I have the peace of God on the
Right.
inside? Or is there just this constant discomfort about this relationship and constant questions about this relationship? I think lots of times, the more obvious the indicators, the harder we push against it almost. Like, you know what I mean? I had a relationship that I knew was toxic, that I knew was bad, but yet I pushed in. And I think sometimes we need to just be smart and like take a step back and be like, okay, I can see this for what it really is. And I think, even with Rachel and I, when on our wedding day, I mean, I tell people all the time that I was even though I had the strong desire to get married, I was scared of marriage because it's a lifelong commitment.
Right.
And even though I knew she was the one,
Right.
lifelong commitment, that's a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not like picking the wrong college, because you could switch that. That's
Yeah.
not like picking the wrong major or getting the wrong job. Because maybe you feel like I'm supposed to be a computer engineer, and then like 3 years into that, you're like, you know what? I actually want to start my own construction
Right.
business. Like, that stuff you can change all the time.
Right.
But when it comes to marriage, I think society is trying to teach us that you can just swap husbands
Right.
and wives out
Right.
like freaking checkerboards on a checkerboard, but checker
Checkerboard.
pieces on a checkerboard.
Checkerboard on a checkerboard.
Yeah, checkerboard. Maybe not the best analogy, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, and there's no condemnation.
Right.
Lots of people have divorces and they get remarried, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, from what I understand from the Bible and what I've been taught, marriage is one and done.
Right.
And so to me, that was a commitment that I knew, even though I know this is right, there's no way out of this.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
committing my life to this decision. And so I feel like when you are going to make that decision, you better know.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's really good too, because, like you said, like it needs to be viewed that way. It's like, it needs to be something that this is going to be real. I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to live this out. And I think that can even extend to, not all friendships are forever, but at the same time, it's like you should be very choice conscious on your friends that
Right.
like, I don't want to just use this person to benefit me, or I don't want to be used by this person to benefit them. It's like, who you let in your life, that should be very purposeful in very thoughtful of like, I'm going to allow myself to be in a relationship with this person on a friendship level and on a romantic level. I think it's just very, like the Bible says, the company you surround yourself can corrupt your morals, or it can even promote your morals. And I think it's just very good to have that in mind, especially on a relationship level, because that's going to be the person that is with you through it all.
That's right.
Like Kylene and I, we are each other's support system, and when we're having a hard time, I'm going to be there to encourage her in her job or encourage her in her faith when maybe she's going through something. I need someone that's going to be there for me on the same way, and she is.
Right.
But if you pick someone that has a different mindset or a different view in your life, it's going to be very hard to keep that support going and to keep yourself in that same mindset, because you're going to be going against each other instead of going with each other.
Right.
And I think that's just, for anyone listening out there, especially when it comes into relationships, but I even say it extends to friendships as well. Just be very careful who you let in your life, because they're going to be the ones that are going to drive you towards God or drive you away from God.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with being selective in who you give your life to.
Yeah.
And we talked about that on our podcast last week. Your life is clay. And people can be potters, the potter's hands. And whoever you give your clay to, they will shape you and they will mold you into whatever image they want. That's what that scripture says. And so it's important to give our clay, our life, to God so he can shape it and he can mold it. And that's what Rachel did in our relationship. That's what I did in our relationship. And he's been able to shape and mold our marriage into what it is now, which is absolutely fantastic. And personal testimony, like our marriage has gotten so much better from even our honeymoon. It's like, I think sometimes the honeymoon is the best part of their marriage. Like, I want to go on another honeymoon.
Same.
Because our marriage is even better now than it was then. And so a honeymoon now, not that I don't love my children, but like deuces, we're leaving you and we're going on a honeymoon because our marriage, we're at a place now where it's amazing.
And we're so comfortable with each other because
Yes.
we've spent 15 years together.
Right. Yeah, that honeymoon was awkward. You know what I mean? But
It was awkward.
I think everyone thinks that like happily ever after, like, when people get married in movies, it's like, and then they lived happily ever after. And it's like, no, those first 3 years are probably uncomfortable and weird and a little bit awkward.
A little bit.
The first year was like so awkward.
Yeah.
Because our honeymoon, like, and I don't know, you can share your testimony, Rachel can share hers. But for me, like, our honeymoon was like the first time it was just her and I. For an extended period of time. Usually there was always friends there. There was the youth group there. There was ministry there. But on our honeymoon...
It's like your first date.
Exactly. It's just me and you.
Your first date that lasts a week. And so, like, by day 2, you're like, how do I talk to this person?
Gosh.
You know what I mean? There's no one else here to have a conversation with. And, it was still wonderful, but I would love to go now.
Right.
Yeah. I think, I said about the 3 years thing because truthfully, like Kylene and I, and she'd say the same thing. Our first 3 years were the hardest. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was just like, granted, I was 20, she was 21. Like, we were basically still kids.
Right.
And that's probably one thing that I think was just interesting about our marriage is that, like, even though we are the same people, we're not the same people that we were when we were 20 and 21. So we were very much still developing and growing on a spiritual sense, an emotional sense, just a whatever sense. And so I think we had to kind of like go through that together very much in that 20 to 24 time period. And so it was just like a weird time. She was still in school. I was still kind of figuring out my life, even though I just started out the church. I was trying to get my maturity on track and just adjust to like life. And so we were just kind of in a weird place. But I think because we had the mindset of no matter what, even if it gets hard, even if it gets weird, even if it's whatever, like, we are going to be together.
Right.
We made that up no matter what, no matter how many arguments, no matter how many uncomfortable moments we had, no matter the hard times. We made it up in our minds that we will stick this out.
Right.
And I think that's ultimately what saved us, because we made that commitment to each other and to God. And so we were able to get past that. And even though it was hard and it was challenging, there were still good moments in those 3. It wasn't like those 3 years were the dark ages or anything. I'm not saying like, but I'm just saying in a very real sense, it was just it was a hard moment just to get used to marriage with each other and growing up. And but now, like you guys said, it's just like, we're almost, oh my gosh, we've been married 11 years this year. Yeah, we've been married 11 years now. And so it's like, I can't even imagine my life without her, and I don't want to imagine my life without her. And so, yeah, I would love to do another honeymoon just because it's like those first years, it's like we don't really know what we're doing. But now it's like, this is our life now.
Yeah.
This would be
Yes.
great.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Would be wonderful.
It'd be wonderful.
Where would you guys go? Like
Turks and Chicos.
Turks and Caicos is
Caicos.
where I want to go.
what's a Turks and Caicos? I don't
It's
know.
in I think it's in the Caribbean.
Okay.
It's just really
Very beautiful.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah, stupid expensive.
And yes,
For sure,
ridiculously
I bet.
expensive. One time we looked up prices and it was like,
It's gonna go to like I'm gonna make a Turks and whatever Kinkos or Chicos sign. And
okay,
just
we're
put it
gonna
in our
go when
yard.
Robert figures out how to correctly pronounce it.
When you can correctly pronounce it, we can justify spending the money.
That's right.
Then-
Otherwise, I'll be there the whole time, like mispronouncing it, and all the locals will be like, "Get this guy out of here."
Can that be a game? Like, have Robert pronounce this?
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh, it should be a game.
But
That's
how would
tough.
the point system work? Like if he gets it right, then he gets a point? Or
Sure.
Everyone I get wrong, I have to give people money.
Oh,
I would
okay.
never
I like-
speak again.
we can do
Listen.
this game. We
Right?
can make this happen as long as I'm in the crowd.
Yeah, says the two people who know how often I mispronounce things.
Literally
'Cause they're
this
like,
"We're
morning, I
gonna
had
get
to be his
money."
grammar check. I had to get on his computer
Yeah.
and read.
So good.
He calls me his ghostwriter.
Yeah, he is. So,
Oh man,
It's so good.
it is good. So that's our story.
That is the story.
That is our
I like the
story.
story. It's a good story, and I think
It is a
that
good story.
it's encouraging to people that are listening. Or I hope it's encouraging. I believe it's encouraging.
All the potty heads out there.
All the potty heads.
The potty heads out there. If you can take away one thing from listening to today's episode, is just purposely be purposeful in your relationship, but most importantly, be purposeful in your relationship in your pursuit of God first.
Yes.
And I think that your friendships will follow, your relationships will follow, and everything else that you want in your life and everything else that God wants for your life
Yep.
is going to follow.
And hopefully we have some young married couples or even older married couples
Yeah.
that do listen to the podcast as well. If you're a young married couple, I would just say, you got married for a reason.
Yeah.
God brought your paths
Right.
together. Like Cody just said,
Yeah.
the first 3 years for them was,
Challenging.
challenging. For us, I know at the beginning, our communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
It was just
So bad.
It was just awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you set your mind, okay, we're going to work on this.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like the foundation of anything is always like the infrastructure is always the longest part. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it just seems like one day it just comes together. But you got to be willing to work on it. And, it's it's such a weird analogy. And I don't even know why I'm thinking of this, but it's kind of like an ironsmith with like a sword or something like, you see the end product and everybody's like, wow, look at that was
Right.
made. But no one sees them like in the shop, like pounding on it and sweating and
Yeah.
like working and, doing all the things necessary to make it this wonderful piece of worksmith or art or whatever
yeah.
it is. And a marriage is the same way. So if you're a young married couple and you're like, man, this is not as easy as I hoped it was going to be.
Right.
Just
Said
keep
everyone.
working.
Yeah.
Right. Just keep working on it. And I believe Cody and Kylene have a testimony. Rachel and I have a testimony. We could all four agree that our marriage is 1,000 times, and
For
I
sure.
can't
For
even,
sure.
I can't even
Yeah.
a million times
For sure.
better now than it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the way it should be.
It should be.
Yeah, it should be like like the glory of God. It increases and gets better and better, and we go from glory to glory, from
Yeah.
glory to glory. Just continues to increase and get better and better and better. And every year, every day, every year throws different challenges. Once we figured out how to be a married couple and we're chilling and we're vibing, then God was like, now kids. And so then we're like, oh no, we got to figure this out. And so
Yeah.
there's always hurdles to overcome. But like
Right.
Cody said, I just posted it. Aw, I'm holding her hand for those of you who can't see all the potty heads out there.
All
But
those potty heads out there.
just on my Instagram post, after 15 years of marriage, we always have each other's back.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very
The
true.
good, the bad, the ugly. One thing I know, even if we're fighting or we're getting along, we will always be there for each other. It's
Yeah.
kind of like God. He's
Right, for
always
sure.
there. And, just continually having each other's back will produce a confidence in one another about your relationship to where you're not willing to give up on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want to go hug my wife right now.
Aw, you want to hug
But-
Robert?
We can
Yeah.
do that later.
I got you, dude. I will fill in for Kylene. Give me a big old hug.
Oh man.
Well, good deal.
It's been great having you join us today.
Yes,
Hopefully, this
it's
is
been
not
wonderful.
the last time that we are here, all three of us together. I'd like it to be a regular occurrence, if possible, if the schedules
would be
allow.
wonderful.
As we've said, I think in the original pilot, this has been a hope and a dream of I
Yes,
think all
it
of
has
us
been.
is that all
For a
three of
long
us will be able to
time.
talk
Right.
about culture and Jesus and things like that. So hopefully this is just the beginning and not the last time. It won't be the last
It
time.
won't be the last
It won't be
time.
the last time. Is there any like parting words you want to say to the potty heads?
I don't know.
Gosh,
I'm
I
trying to
can't-
think of a funny like toilet reference, but I can't.
I just love that reference because when you are on the toilet, you're
Oh
completely
my
vulnerable.
gosh.
You're vulnerable. You know what I mean? You're
We can't
exposed.
do this.
You're vulnerable. This
Stop.
is a place.
So
this is a
good.
place of vulnerability to come in here to open ourselves up for them, the listeners to open themselves up for us all
It's
to
a place of
listen.
relief.
To go. It's a
No.
Look at
no.
the revelation that is coming just
No.
around that title. A place
So,
of relief.
A place of relief.
Yes, and if you have like
Get that crap out of here.
yes.
Next shirt. Get that crap
Oh
out of
my
here.
gosh.
If you have like spiritual constipation, if
Oh
you have like
my gosh.
emotional constipation, this podcast is here. We are the nutrients to flush, to get things really flowing.
It'll make
we
you
are
feel
the,
good.
the spiritual plunger in your
This
life.
is happening.
I could just keep going with like the toilet puns. It's
Oh
so good.
man, it's so great.
Yeah.
Toilet humor. So good.
Right? I love the toilet.
Isn't it great that, we can be in our 30s and early 40-ish.
I'm still in my 30s.
I know it's in the 30s and early 40. We can still be immature. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't ever grow up.
I will
kids.
never grow up.
Never.
That is
grow
my
up.
motto.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
forever 24.
Exactly.
Made it in my
Exactly.
mind. I'll always be on my parents' insurance.
I've decided.
So good.
This is where I live now.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing. All right, you potty heads,
Oh,
go
stop
ahead
it.
and get out of here. Go use the
Flush it out.
restroom. And we love you guys. We really do.
Yeah, we do.
It's been awesome.
Don't forget to follow us on social platforms. DM us if you have a subject that you
Hashtag potty.
Yeah, start that. Let's get that trending on Twitter.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a potty head.
How are we going to spell this hashtag?
I'd rather be a potty head than a potty mouth.
Oh, I like that. Though.
Hey.
I don't hate that. That's probably the man. I can't believe this is happening. Just it's unreal.
I gotta say
We
though,
just
this
birthed
is
something on the
this
toilet,
is like
guys.
this is a token of Ablaze Youth Ministries, though. I mean, people always get the nicknames they don't want.
That is
true.
It's
That
like a
is true.
staple
You don't pick
of
it.
the youth ministry.
true.
You don't find the name; the name
give you the
finds
name.
you. And I feel like this name has found us. So I
Oh,
apologize to all the submissions out there. Uzzias, I know that yours was in the lead, but it sounds like you're going to be a potty head now, man.
The official name is We Talk, but the unofficial name is the Pottycast.
Potty heads, we talk.
We talk about
We potty.
We potty.
Wee potty. So
And
good.
it's our spiritual growth is like our bathroom experience. It's very regular. You know what I mean?
It should be regular.
It should
If
be
it's not
regular.
regular,
Really.
something's wrong.
You need to change your diet.
You're uncomfortable.
Look, listen.
Gosh dang it.
There's layers. There's layers.
There's layers
Peel
to
the
the
onion. If you're not growing, if it's not regular, then something's
We gotta
wrong. You
steer
gotta
into this skid mark. I'm just kidding.
Oh no!
All right, we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, that's Cody's nickname on the podcast. What's up, Skid Mark?
That's like a really bad radio talk host thing.
So bad.
Welcome to the podcast. It's your boy Skid Mark.
Yeah, so good.
Hashtag skid mark.
Hashtag Skid Mark.
Again, viewer discretion is advised.
Parental.
So good.
So, anyways, DM us if you have any subjects that you'd like us to talk about. DM us if you want to hear more from
The
my
toilet.
wonderful wife, Boo.
Yep.
DM us about your last potty experience. I don't know. Just whatever. We just love hearing from you guys.
Yes,
We do.
it's
And,
awesome.
I hope you have a blessed and wonderful day.
All right, poop emojis in the chat. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.